Hi, my name is Charlene Fike, and I'm really glad that you're taking the time to watch this short video in this series of Skilling Up with Charlene. In today's series, I want to talk about the importance of fine tuning your small muscles and not making them weak and focusing so much on big muscle development. So, here's what I learned from a friend of mine who's a rock climber, and he said that there's this phenomena that happens to the body when you first begin to go rock climbing. At first, all your small muscles, like your fingers and your tendons and your wrist stabilization, except are just really too weak to actually climb for more than a few minutes. So it doesn't matter if you have enormous big muscles like biceps or six pack abs, he was sharing with me. It doesn't really matter if you have those things. If your small muscles aren't strong enough, you literally can't go rock climbing. And you'll snap your wrists if you try anything beyond short, basic climbs. So he said that it takes about 2 weeks to develop these small muscles, but once you unlock them, then you can rely on the rest of your muscles and your ability, and you can literally do things that you thought were impossible just a few weeks ago. So he was telling me that the big muscles are completely useless until you get over the initial hump of training your small muscles. And I thought that was kind of interesting, and it kind of got me thinking. And I started asking myself, am I focusing on the wrong things? Am I giving up when I have joint pains or muscle strains when I'm trying to learn something new? And I have some maybe core muscles that are bigger, but when I'm making some new changes in my life, especially when it comes to behavioral changes, then we really have to shore up those small muscles, and it just takes time. I remember one of the first muscles that I needed to really focus on and work on way back when I was in my 20s, and was that how do I talk to myself when nobody's listening? And I think that's really something that hits a lot of people, especially women, is that we tend to be, our internal dialogue tends to be a lot more critical. And we would never speak to somebody the way we speak to ourselves. So I would find myself saying, "Oh, Charlene, you are so stupid. Why did you do that?" Or "I'll never get this," etc. And it was just those little things you think, so what's the big deal? But if that's my internal dialogue and I talk to myself that way, then my subconscious that's listening to that actually walks that out. And so I knew that I needed to change some of that. So I'm not saying this is how you have to do it, but this is what I did. I remember reading by somebody that was talking about that, every time you hear something negative in your head, then you had a little rubber band and you would snap it and then say cancel, cancel, and you would start by reframing something that was positive. And I used to do that. I would put rubber bands on my wrists, and I would start, and when I catch myself saying something to myself that I would never say to somebody else that was really critical, then I just started snapping the rubber band. And then I remember another time I started with, like, okay, well, today I'm going to just add rubber bands, and my goal is to not have any rubber bands on my thing instead of growing this big bracelet. So, I mean, it's just simple little things that I did to trick myself, but it was really just focused effort, and usually it would take anywhere from 10 to 2 weeks, sometimes 3 weeks, to just start seeing incremental changes where it just became habit. And now, after 3 decades of working on this, I rarely slip into those self negative patterns and thought processes. It's not part of my life because I've developed that muscle that moves me into a different direction. So I want to follow by a quote here. You'll catch on that I'm a big reader and I always write down different quotes that I run into. And this is a classic from Robert Kiyosaki. You win if you remain faithful to the process. The process is testing you as well as teaching you. If you pass the test and learn the lessons, you get to go on to the next process. If you fail a test and quit rather than retake the test, the process spits you out. I thought that would be the appropriate quote to use in today's dialogue and help us be thinking about, are we willing to just go through the process of learning how to be kinder and gentler in the way that we speak to ourselves? maybe that's not going to be your challenge. It was my challenge, but you're going to face a challenge that's a small muscle that if you exercise it and strengthen it, you're going to be surprised what you can accomplish and the building blocks that that creates in helping you move forward to craft a life that matters to you, so that in the end, it's all about getting to the spot where you are ultimately being the best self and giving your gift to others who are waiting for you. So go out and exercise those muscles today.